When it came to astronomy and mapping the cosmos, just how skilled were the ancient Egyptians? It would seem that thousands of years ago, without any modern means of recording information, the celestial maps they drew should have only shown the sun, the moon, and a few of the brightest stars. However, on their zodiac maps, the ancient Egyptians also depicted Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. This was a planetary alignment that repeats in the sky only about once every 1,000 years. And it was drawn with such incredible precision that scientists, using modern computational methods, were able to determine the creation date of this mysterious zodiac map to be around 50 BC. Although some Egyptologists believe this map had more of a religious and ceremonial significance, other scholars claim that this particular zodiac contained astronomical information about the movements of stars and planets that was simply too detailed for that era. It's true. The ancient Egyptians believed it was the god Ra riding his solar bark, who carried the sun across the sky. But despite this, the depth of scientific knowledge they may have possessed far exceeds what we typically give them credit for. And the Dendera Zodiac is far from the only artifact that proves this. In this video, you'll find out why Stephen Hawking believed the ancient Egyptians received help from a more advanced civilization. Is it possible they actually handled materials from space? What evidence is there to suggest that they had contact with the Americas thousands of years before Columbus ever discovered the continent? And overall, what other mysterious artifacts and amazing discoveries are out there? It could completely overturn our understanding of ancient Egypt. Some signs really do suggest that ancient Egyptian technology was far more advanced than is commonly believed. The helicopter hieroglyphs discovered by scientists are interesting for a number of reasons. They are among the oldest hieroglyphs ever found and are key to deciphering early hieroglyphic writing, but the biggest mystery of all is a carving that appears to depict a helicopter, a submarine, and an airplane. These particular hieroglyphs were discovered in the Temple of Osiris at Abydos. The temple was originally commissioned by Pharaoh Seti I and later completed by Ramesses II. Ramesses II covered his predecessor's hieroglyphs with plaster and carved his own symbols on top. Over time, parts of the plaster flaked away. As a result, the hieroglyphs overlapped, creating the images that look so much like modern inventions. Some people are more than a little skeptical of the scientific explanation. As far as they're concerned, it's just too much of a coincidence for the hieroglyphs to flake and overlap to form clear images of modern machines. That can't possibly be an accident. Dr. Ruth McKinley Hover claims that this is direct proof of highly advanced engineering in ancient Egypt. In other words, according to this theory, they had helicopters, submarines, and airplanes thousands of years ago. This technology, however, was top secret, but if that were true, surely the Assyrians would have seen these machines during their battles with the Egyptians. Then the murals depicting multiple battles with the pharaoh's army would probably look something like this. Therefore, this theory seems far too incredible to believe. So, what about the Saqqara Bird? It's often used as evidence that the ancient Egyptians understood the principles of aerodynamics. According to some scientists, this object is nothing more than a relic from the worship of the falcon god, Horus. However, Egyptologist Khalil Messiah claimed that the Saqqara Bird is a model of an ancient glider. It's just that this glider has not survived to this day. The actual object has never been found. Khalil explained that the horizontal stabilizer, which is essential for straight-line flight, was missing because it had been lost. This researcher even conducted an experiment. He created a model of the Saqqara Bird and added the missing piece. The results of the experiment found that the bird could actually glide for several meters. An expert in glider design and flight, Martin Gregory, also conducted a similar experiment with the Saqqara Bird. Gregory made a replica of the Saqqara Bird and ran a series of his own tests. Through these tests, it became very clear that without a horizontal stabilizer, the bird's flight performance was completely unpredictable. And furthermore, the model makes for a fantastic weather vane. It accurately and consistently shows the direction of the wind. This means the ancient Egyptians must have known how to harness wind energy. So, could they have possibly used wind energy to charge something? A bas-relief clearly depicts a woman holding a large lighting device. This relief was found in the Temple of Khafre, and it appears to have been intentionally hidden beneath the ground. This means the ancient Egyptians must have known how to use wind energy in a narrow and hard-to-reach room. What's more, it can't be explained away as an ordinary object. That's because these images are preserved in pristine condition, looking exactly as they did when the ancient Egyptians first created them. Despite this, Egyptologists interpret the mysterious light bulb on the relief as a combination of traditional Egyptian symbols. They say it's a pillar representing Osiris, along with a snake emerging from a lotus flower. The pillar symbolizes stability and permanence, while the snake in the lotus flower represents prosperity. But many researchers don't agree with this explanation, especially considering the device's startling resemblance to an early industrial light bulb. Could they have really used something similar for illumination? For the ancient Egyptians, electricity would have been incredibly useful when quarrying the primary materials for their temples and pyramids. Electricity really would have been very useful. Today, we'd think of using excavators, bulldozers, and dynamite to work with stone. But we're talking about incredibly hard granite. Scientists believe the ancient Egyptians would hammer wooden wedges into existing cracks in the rock, basically, its weak points. Then, they'd soak the wedges in water. The wood would expand, causing the granite to split. According to the official scientific view, the ancient Egyptians must have worked the stone with tools found during excavations, or with tools documented in their writings or drawings. But then, how do you explain the drill holes in the granite? Nowadays, we use diamond-tipped drill bits or high-pressure water jets for that kind of abrasion. But how the ancient Egyptians managed to do it remains unclear to this day, because the copper they had was too soft to be used for drilling. It's believed that they used sand as an abrasive material. However, some scientists believe the ancient Egyptians used sonic devices that still haven't been proven to work the granite. All in all, there are still many gaps in our understanding of the ancient Egyptians' construction techniques. But based on their architectural achievements, without some kind of special knowledge, it would have been impossible for them to complete these structures. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians were smarter than we imagine? Researchers point to the Great Pyramid of Giza as one of the key pieces of evidence for this. It is the largest and also one of the oldest pyramids in ancient Egypt, standing at 146.5 meters tall. It was built in the year 2600 BC and consists of about 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing around 2 tons. According to various estimates, its construction took between 20 to 40 years, and it's still shrouded in many mysteries. How did the ancient Egyptians, in a relatively short period of time, build the largest structure of the ancient world? Scientists can only explain some of the construction phases. The stone blocks were quarried south of the pyramid to make it easier to transport such heavy blocks across the desert. They would wet the sand. However, this doesn't explain how the ancient Egyptians lifted blocks weighing several tons to a height of over 100 meters. Scientists believe this would have required a ramp. That is, a gentle incline that would make it easier to drag the blocks uphill. In Hatnub, archaeologists discovered just such a ramp carved directly into the rock. A ramp made of the rock itself. It's quite steep on both sides, with a set of stairs running alongside it. The stairs are lined with a series of repeating holes. In the past, wooden posts would have been inserted into these holes. There are also traces of a rope and pulley system. A pulley is a wheel used to pull ropes taut. However, considering the engineering complexity, this ramp was far too small for constructing something on the scale of the Great Pyramid of Giza, according to estimates. Moving the stone blocks needed for the pyramid would have required a ramp with an incline of about 20 degrees. This means that the ramp they would have built for the Great Pyramid of Giza would have been as massive as the pyramid itself. Because of these contradictions, British author and journalist Graham Hancock has come up with his own theory on how the pyramids were built. The pyramids were actually built by representatives of a highly advanced, ancient civilization. The ancient Egyptians themselves didn't have the engineering know-how to build the pyramids on their own. There have been similar debates about other pyramids as well. Belgian author Robert Bouval discovered a correlation between the position of the 3 main stars of Orion's belt and the layout of the 3 main pyramids at Giza. In his view, this suggests the ancient Egyptians possessed relatively advanced astronomical knowledge. Back in 2500 BC, any similarity between the pyramids and the sky would have to be related to the distribution of stars at that time. However, over time, the view of the sky changes. Therefore, 4,500 years ago, the layout of the constellation Orion was completely different from what we see today. And yet, according to today's star alignment, the correspondence between the pyramids and Orion's belt is extremely precise. Astronomers using planetarium equipment have found that, for the pyramids to correspond with the alignment of Orion's belt model. Whether we're looking at their alignment in the past or in the present, adjustments have to be made. But the correlation between the pyramids and celestial bodies is undeniable. What impresses scientists the most is that the Great Pyramid of Giza is precisely aligned with the 4 cardinal points. For years, scholars have tried to figure out how the ancient Egyptians managed to achieve this. Furthermore, on the winter solstice, the sun sets directly above the Pyramid of Menkaure. This has led to the official explanation that ancient engineers, through careful observation of the sun's movement, were able to align the pyramids. But did they really possess the knowledge required to build such monumental structures? After all, none of the necessary tools or artifacts from that period have survived. Or was their understanding of astronomy far more detailed than we can imagine? And it goes beyond just astronomy. Scarlett Moffat appeared on the TV show in 2016, I'm a Celebrity. Her statements shocked the audience. She claimed that the speed of light in a vacuum is a perfect match for the width of the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is an undeniable yet unexplainable fact. How could the ancient Egyptians have possibly known the speed of light? Now, the scientific community dismisses this as pure coincidence. But Moffat has her own theory. She said that according to some theories, you need to travel faster than the speed of light to achieve time travel. This would mean that people from the future could have broken the light speed barrier, traveled to ancient Egypt, and built the pyramids themselves. The pyramids are incredibly prominent and the most important, long-lasting objects on the planet. It's a clear hint that time travel is, in fact, possible. Naturally, even the show's audience began to laugh at Moffat. But soon, Stephen Hawking himself suddenly backed his theory, writing him a letter in which he claimed that the theory of time travel might be the logical reason behind the pyramid's strange coordinates. If the mysteries of ancient Egypt could lead such a serious scientist to talk about something as fantastic as time travel, then how are we supposed to explain the even more bizarre and authentic artifacts from ancient Egypt? Many adventurers have speculated that the ancient Egyptians had contact, either with people from the future or with extraterrestrials. But if we assume this is true, then the ancient Egyptians would have needed a place to store this extraterrestrial knowledge. According to most theories like this, we should be looking inside the shafts of the Great Pyramid of Giza. These shafts extend from the so-called King's Chamber down into the unknown depths beneath the pyramid. Some scientists believe these shafts were used for ventilation. But what's puzzling is, why would they need oxygen shafts like these? Another theory suggests that the shafts were designed as passages to the sky. Two researchers, Virginia Trimble and Alexander Badoy, discovered that one of the shafts points to the location of the North Star. At the time the pyramid was built, another shaft is said to align perfectly with Orion's belt. Both of these celestial bodies held great significance in ancient Egyptian mythology. Or could they have been the place where the pyramid received signals from the cosmos? Many who support the alien contact theory are willing to believe this. But in reality, these shafts are blocked by massive stone slabs, preventing any direct path to the sky. In any case, their purpose remains a mystery to this day. Scientists from the University of Leeds in the UK attempted to solve this mystery. In 2020, they designed a robot that explored one of the shafts for a distance of 60 meters, which took 9 hours. At the end of this narrow passage, the robot navigated around a stone block that was in the way. Behind the stone block, it discovered a small chamber. The floor of the chamber was painted with complex symbols. It's hard for us to imagine finding something like this inside a ventilation shaft. However, what lies behind the second stone block remains a mystery. Some scholars believe that these shafts lead to the dungeons of the pyramid, where the secret knowledge of an alien civilization is hidden. After all, the more hidden, the better, right? What's more, this seemingly absurd idea continues to gain support. Dr. Kathy Vody successfully entered the Osiris shaft. This dungeon has 3 levels, the last of which leads to a water tunnel located more than 38 meters underground. On the first level, due to a lack of ventilation, it was very difficult to breathe. Then, Kathy entered a stone chamber which contained 7 niches for sarcophagi, but only 2 sarcophagi remained in their original spots. These sarcophagi were made of black granite, weighed several tons, and once belonged to the guardians of the temple and high priests. Since 1934, the 3rd level of the Osiris shaft has been completely flooded with water. This made exploration even more difficult. But Dr. Vodi did manage to peer through the water and get a glimpse into the flooded shaft. She saw a stone slab covered in blurry, indistinct symbols. And hidden beneath the slab was another mysterious sarcophagus. Egyptian geologists believe that this is the tomb of Osiris, because this very shaft is named after him. According to many theories based on ancient Egyptian mythology, Osiris was a representative of an alien civilization. This civilization provided the ancient Egyptians with mystical knowledge. What if his tomb conceals an entire underground complex? A place where, far from the reach of tomb robbers, there might not only be alien manuscripts, but also samples of extraterrestrial technology, just like this metal artifact discovered in a tomb, not far from the town of Girub. It was made around 3500 BC. It's actually the most ancient metal jewelry in Egypt. It was previously believed that this bead was forged using some unknown method, but recent studies of the material have revealed a high nickel content. This means it came from a meteorite. In other words, the ancient Egyptians literally had jewelry from outer space. Scientists speculate that priests would carefully observe meteorite impacts for them. This celestial metal held a special religious value and significance. That's why beads made from it were placed in tombs as treasured possessions. But proponents of the alien contact theory believe that such artifacts were nothing more than gifts from representatives of an extraterrestrial civilization. And if that's true, then this bead is hardly the only example. About 3,300 years ago, Tutankhamun's dagger was buried along with the pharaoh's mummy. It, too, was made from meteoritic material. But the most impressive thing about this dagger isn't its cosmic origin but the fact that it was forged and features exquisite, detailed decorations. Other objects made of meteoric iron. Even modern creations don't come close to its level of craftsmanship. But for the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't surprising. After all, the very best artisans were the ones making ornaments for the pharaoh. Still, some scholars believe this dagger was a gift from aliens. Of course, it's not Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, but it's still incredibly cool. However, if the ancient Egyptians really did possess secret knowledge from space, they certainly did a great job of hiding it. So well, in fact, that it seems impossible for ordinary people to have done. What if the ancient Egyptians were the aliens themselves? Then they wouldn't have needed to make contact with an alien civilization, would they? We still have no definitive information on Nefertiti's origins, her date of death, or her final resting place. It's as if she appeared out of thin air and then vanished just as suddenly. But what is clear is that Nefertiti had a major influence on ancient Egypt. This is evident from some of the artwork in these depictions. She is portrayed as being just as tall as her husband, the pharaoh Akhenaten. And then there's the famous bust, whose appearance still stuns people today. And what's more, her features are astonishingly consistent with modern standards of beauty. It's almost as if the sculptor, Thutmose, drew his inspiration directly from the pages of a fashion magazine. Scientists believe that the bust of Nefertiti was a sort of display model for the sculptor, meant to showcase his skill and creative process. This would explain why the sculptor made Nefertiti's face perfectly symmetrical, adhering to precise mathematical proportions. This is also thought to be the explanation for the mysteriously missing eye. It has never been found. 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 Egyptologists believe that the sculptor didn't intentionally leave the eye out, but rather to demonstrate a stage in the creative process. But there's also an incredible theory that the missing eye was actually some kind of high-tech implant, and where else could it have come from, if not from outer space? What's even more interesting is that in recent years, touching the bust has been forbidden, to prevent it from being damaged. But could this be to ensure that we don't examine it more closely and find evidence supporting the implant theory? So, was Nefertiti, in both senses of the word, an out-of-this-world beauty? Nefertiti's enormous crown showcased her power. This has also fueled all sorts of speculation. What if underneath it, she was hiding an elongated, alien skull? But if a peculiar headdress is a sign of alien origin, then the easiest way to find aliens would probably be to attend one of the annual fashion weeks. Interestingly, though, Nefertiti's husband, Akhenaten, also wore a similar crown. Furthermore, he had unusually large lips and ears, as well as feminine facial features. Because of this, scientists have speculated that he suffered from Frelick syndrome. This physical appearance is characteristic of the condition. The disease affects pubertal development, so males can end up with a feminine appearance. But some doctors believe Akhenaten wasn't human, and they often cite his radical religious reforms as evidence for this view. This pharaoh was the only ruler in ancient Egypt who tried to enforce the worship of a single deity. For centuries, the ancient Egyptians had worshipped many different gods, but Akhenaten stripped the priests of all their power. Unlike the old, anthropomorphic gods, the new, one true god, Aten, was depicted as the sun. It was a cosmic symbol, completely devoid of human features. Scientists believe that Akhenaten's religious revolution was driven by his desire to weaken the power of the priests and his hope to improve Egypt with a new religion. But other theories suggest that Akhenaten was an extraterrestrial missionary who was trying to introduce a new form of cosmic worship. But even if this were true, Akhenaten wasn't very successful in his mission, because his religion only lasted for about 20 years after the eccentric pharaoh's death. His successor, Tutankhamun, restored the faith in the old gods and traditional customs. The priests did everything they could to erase any mention of the heretic ruler from history. But in the history of Egypt, there was one man who was revered, even more than the pharaohs. He was considered a demigod, and temples were even built in his honor. And all of this was thanks to his advanced scientific achievements. Imhotep is credited as the architect who designed the pyramid-style tombs for the pharaohs. Imhotep's most famous architectural masterpiece is the Pyramid of Giza, which launched the architectural traditions of the Old Kingdom. It is also believed that Imhotep was the author of the Edwin Smith Papyrus, the first known medical text in human history. He documented 48 cases of injury, along with descriptions of the necessary examinations and treatments. Around the time that Imhotep lived, fairly primitive medical methods were common in ancient societies, and yet this advanced medical knowledge seems to have appeared out of thin air. Archaeologists have discovered many female mummies with tattoos on their lower backs. However, these tattoos were not for decoration. These zigzagging symbols, meant to represent water, were tattooed on the body to relieve the pain of childbirth and menstruation. But 1,000 years before that, Imhotep already understood that tattoos were not the best form of pain relief. He prescribed real medicine based on substances that were locally available to the patient. His methods also included examinations, diagnostic massage, and dietary advice. Scientists attribute Imhotep's innovative methods to his own innate genius. But many who support the ancient alien theory claim that this genius was actually just an ordinary doctor from another, more advanced spacefaring civilization. After he arrived on Earth, he decided to help in any way he could. This involved providing treatments using methods such as tattooing. If the major influential figures of ancient Egypt really were aliens, then all of these strange features and coincidences would no longer seem bizarre. They would simply be the ordinary result of contact with an alien civilization in ancient times. But why has so little information about these cosmic interventions managed to survive? What if only a few aliens, after experiencing some kind of global catastrophe, fled their home planet and came to Earth? Finding refuge here, they might have decided to thank humanity and share as much of their knowledge as possible, But that wasn't enough to propel an ancient society like Egypt forward. Or was it? Is it possible that before they finally settled in Egypt, they traveled to the Americas to get the materials they needed? If not, how else can we explain this next discovery? In the early 1990s, German toxicologists Fedilana and Balabanova conducted a biochemical analysis on a 3,000-year-old mummy. They discovered traces of cocaine and nicotine. But as we all know, during that time, coca and tobacco plants only grew in the Americas, and ancient Egyptian boats were only suited for sailing down the Nile River or for short trips across the Mediterranean. Does this mean that some alien pharaohs traveled across the ocean? In fact, a supply chain for ancient illicit stimulants and hallucinogens could explain a lot. What do you think? Or did someone or something help them?